All right, well, let me introduce myself, I guess, again. I'm Allie, and I'm a nerd, or at least a lot of people tell me all the time that I'm a nerd. But I'm not just a nerd in the sense that I wear glasses and I'm really good at math. It goes way beyond that, I promise. I'm a nerd for a lot of things. So, of course, math, video games, movies, but also Southern food, fragrances, swing dancing, Disneyland, Star Wars, but most of all music. As he mentioned, I play 11 musical instruments. Hopefully that list will keep growing, but through all my years of musicianship, I have found a lot of ways to inspire myself with music. I've been surrounded by music pretty much my entire life, but I didn't really learn anything for myself until I was in 5th grade and I started taking piano lessons. And then in 6th grade, when I learned to play the violin, and in 7th grade, I took on the clarinet. Since then, I've also learned the cello, the alto saxophone, the guitar, ukulele, flute, drum set, ocarina, of course, and the mandolin. A lot of these instruments I've actually taught myself to play, and some of them I've used to play in bands, both rock and marching. Some of them I've played at Primary Children's Hospital, where I was a volunteer for their music therapy program. And some I've sort of kept more to myself. But each new instrument that I've learned has helped me to branch out to a new style of music and to more things to nerd out about. For example, when my instruments kind of went more in the jazz direction, I started learning about jazz musicians and the eras that they were from. And I got really into big band swing dancing because I really wanted to move like people did in the 20s and the 40s. And that style had this weird, chaotic grace that drew me in, and I loved it. Once I started, it was really hard to stop. It was a way to get involved with this jazz music that I couldn't get involved with just by listening to it or playing it. But unfortunately, knee problems had to put all of that to a stop. It was really discouraging, and it still kind of is, but I might not be able to dance for a long time. I can't anymore, really. But what I've used to get myself up and going again every time is music. There's always been something about sitting down and playing my ukulele or mandolin or really any of my instruments and playing myself a song that's always been able to lift up my spirits and bring a smile to my face. Where was I going? Oh, I don't only use instruments and dancing to enjoy music because music is everywhere. I've always been really into movies and into video games. And ever since I was in a band class where we would play movie scores from time to time, I started listening really intently as I watched a movie. But I wasn't listening to the dialogue so much as I was listening to the music. I started to really listen closely, and at first it was fun to identify which instruments were playing. And then later on, I noticed maybe a certain instrument would play with a specific character. And then I felt really deep when I could figure out that a theme in the music matched a theme with the movie's story. But I really became fascinated with the way that music can shape the entire mood of a movie. And I would start to ask myself the question, would this movie still make me feel the same way if it didn't have any music? And pretty much every time, the answer I came up with was no, because the music really shapes the entire mood of the film, especially in movies. And I'm sure that anyone who's seen maybe Indiana Jones or Up has seen this firsthand. If we're being honest, Indiana Jones probably isn't nearly as heroic if he doesn't have that awesome fanfare, courtesy of John Williams, who is awesome. And if you watch the movie Up, that awesome beginning montage, without any of the music, it would probably take you longer than normal before you started crying, because I think we all can admit that movie makes us cry like little babies. But these evoked emotions from the music are why we find some of the most adventurous or alarming or even heartwarming music in movies and in video games. In a media with such heavy interactivity like video games, the music needs to be really influential and powerful, which is why I listen to video game music when I go to school. So before explaining personal dork reasons, let me explain practical reasons. There's a lot of science behind this. I'm not entirely crazy. A lot of studies have been done about what happens to your brain when you listen to music. And many of these studies have been done specifically with music and exercising, which is a great way to link it to motivation. And so what these studies have found is that listening to music with a fast and upbeat tempo while exercising will increase exertion levels, so you run harder. It'll increase endurance by up to 15%, so you run longer. And then when a runner's fatigued, the music will change the way that they respond to their own fatigue. So this music can convince a runner to keep going when normally they might give up entirely. There's also been research done where researchers have done brain scans while people were listening to symphonies. And while listening to that music, they found that there was brain activity in areas associated not only with the obvious sound processing, but also with attention, memory, and movement planning. So music lighting up the areas with movement planning could perhaps be a reason why it's so natural for us to dance or to run to music. Nina Kraus, who's a researcher at the Auditory Neuroscience Laboratory at Northwestern University, has found that music enters our brains from the bottom up. And by that she means that when music enters our nervous system, it first hits our brainstem, and after that moves forward to the rest of our brain that's activated by music. The brainstem is kind of like a functional control center for your body. It controls your heartbeat, it controls your blood pressure, your breathing, your alertness, and even your consciousness. So if the music is hitting that first, it must have some decent effect on each of those systems. So that is why your heart likes to beat to music. It's why listening to something slow, relaxing can help to calm your breathing. And it's why in general music can be really therapeutic, because it really impacts the core functions of your entire body. So music also will boost cognition and verbal fluency. So another study done at UC Irvine has showed that piano players do better than children who are not involved in music when it comes to solving puzzles that are similar to those presented on IQ tests. And there's also evidence that high school students with a music background perform better than their non-musical peers on the SATs. So, for all these fun science reasons, I listen to music from The Legend of Zelda when I go to school. So, you can think I'm a weirdo if you want, that's fine, I'm used to that. But ever since I've been doing this, you wouldn't believe the difference that it makes. It's not every day or anything, it's mostly just when I have a big test. But let me tell you, I turn that Legend of Zelda, the hero theme, I turn that on full blast when I'm walking to class, and by the time I sit down to take that test, it's not just that I'm gonna do well on the test, it's that I'm gonna save the entire class from the evil clutches of Ganon. I'm the student that's going to save everybody, and I'm the hero of time. And I guess the hero of time must get really good grades, because when I kind of become that hero, I do really well on my tests. But what I found is that music that's intended to be really epic and heroic and amazing will have really, really drastic effects when I take it into my everyday life. It's incredibly inspiring and a little bit magical, and it's one of the many, many reasons why it's okay to be a nerd. Because when I listen to music that some people probably call total geek music, that's when I'm the most inspired, and that's when I'm the happiest. So rise up, fellow nerds, and embrace what you love. Take it and tweak it and make it all your own. Because if it's something that you appreciate and something that you love, then you can use it to inspire yourself to do great things. I love music, and I love video games, and I know that I can do amazing things when I let the music and those video games inspire me. So I hope that all of you, if you haven't already, can find something to be a nerd for, and I hope that you can use the nerdiness to your advantage and let it inspire you. Thank you.